Today, we are embarking on a grand adventure to trace the profound marks of the Turks' emergence onto the stage of history. Step by step, we will explore the history of this great nation. Where did the Turks first appear on the stage of history? Who were their first leaders, and how did they establish a state? By seeking answers to these questions, we will embark on a historical journey. If you're ready, let's begin. The Turks emerged in the northern regions of Central Asia, known as Southern Siberia today, located north of the Altai Mountains, with their first settlements dating back to around 4000 BC. They exerted influence across 3 continents and established 16 empires and hundreds of states from ancient times up to the 21st century. Although the precise historical origin and boundaries of the Turks remain unknown, they first appeared in a region now known as Caucasia, Russia, within the confines of South Siberia. The early education of the pre-Turks was shaped by the laws of abrupt seasonal changes and transformation. These people learned the importance of strong tribal unity and the need to sustain oneself for an extended period to avoid becoming food for others. The pre-Turks experienced a revolutionary shift from a forest to steppe lifestyle through migration, transitioning from a hunter-gatherer civilization to a pastoral one, centered around reindeer and later, horses. The geography of Central Asia, with its need for pasture and water for their herds, drove the Turks towards a nomadic lifestyle. The horse became a crucial asset for the Turks, serving essential roles in transportation, sustenance, herd management, and warfare. By introducing horse culture to humanity, the pre-Turks became the first community to domesticate horses. They invented saddles, stirrups, and harnesses for their horses, skillfully using their unparalleled bows made from sharp steel. Armed with such equipment and weapons, they would live for millennia, nearly invincible. Sakkas Scythians. Following the identification of cultures such as Inav, Afanasayevo, Keltumener, Andranovo, Karasik, Tagar, and Tastk in relation to the pre-Turks, the first pre-Turks emerged. The Cimmerians and Scythians, also known as Sakkas, exerted influence from Asia to Central Europe between 2000 BC and 800 BC. Starting from the 2nd millennium BC, the Cimmerians and Scythians played an influential and diverse role in world history. Pursuing each other in the same geographical areas, they were the protagonists of a highly dynamic adventure, leaving their mark on history in mixed and populous groups. The Scythians had unique horse training methods, depicted on the walls during the era. According to Herodotus, the Scythians' greatest wealth consisted of semi-wild herds of horses and flocks of sheep. The Greeks referred to the Scythians as mounted archers. Scythian children were taught to use bows and arrows at a very young age. A crucial skill for the Scythians was shooting arrows while galloping at full speed and hitting the target accurately, a skill they deemed essential to master. Long-distance archery competitions and the achievements therein were admired by Greek colonies, and monuments were erected to honor and encourage such accomplishments. In their battle formations, the flanks, positioned alongside the main central unit, were led by Hun's sons and nobles, swiftly attacking the enemy and rapidly withdrawing, giving the impression that they were fleeing. This would exhaust the enemy forces who believed they were fleeing, and the Scythians would pursue them across the boundless steppes, wearing them down and cutting off their communication with supporting forces. Claims about whether the Scythians, also known as Sakkas, were Turkic have been made at different times. However, recent studies suggest a high probability that the Scythians were Turkic and ancestors of the Hun Empire, making significant appearances in history. For instance, cuneiform inscriptions found in the Susa region that belonged to the Scythians are early examples of Turkic. Additionally, an inscription in Turkic was found on a jar in the Issyk Kurgan near Almaty, Kazakhstan, stating, "Son of the Khan vanished at the age of 23. This evidence indicates that the Scythians spoke Turkic. Moreover, the attire of the Golden Man, found in the Issyk Kurgan, showcases the Scythians' expertise in goldsmithing and serves as clear evidence of their wealth. Modu Chanyu, also known as Meet Khan, is the first organizational leader of the Turks. According to a tale found in Chinese sources, Teoman, the founder of the Asian Han Empire, contemplated placing his son, Modu Chanyu, on the throne. However, influenced by his stepmother, Teoman attempted to enthrone Modu Chanya's stepbrother instead. Upon learning of Modu Chanya's intentions from his stepmother, Teoman sent Modu Chanyu as a hostage to the neighboring Yuezhi tribe. Teoman subsequently declared war on the Yuezhi in an attempt to have Modu Chanyu killed. Modu Chanyu managed to escape the Yuezhi territory before Teoman's invasion. Impressed by Modu Chanya's resilience, Tiumen eventually provided him with a division of soldiers. In the end, Modu killed his biological father, stepmother, and stepbrothers, ascending to the throne as the Khan in 209 BC. Modu Chanyu, a significant figure in Turkish history, initiated a major transformation, introducing the concepts of the first modern state and military, emphasizing the sanctity of the nation and homeland. He surpassed the Great Wall of China, built by the Chinese for their defense, and conducted incursions into China, instilling fear in many other nations as well. The decimal system, established by Emperor Modu in 209 BC within the Asian Han Empire, marked the founding date of the Turkish army and the Turkish land forces. The largest unit in this system was a formation of 10,000 soldiers, referred to as a Tumen. During Modu's era, the country's borders encompassed all of Asia, stretching from Siberia in the north to the Caspian Sea in the west and reaching as far as India in the south. Later, Modu set out for China, overcoming obstacles one after another as he approached China. The Chinese, fearing the largest army of the time, constructed the Great Wall of China, believing it would be insurmountable and provide them safety. Modu, still in the early stages of his newly formed nomadic Turkish coalition, gathered an army and crossed into China. The operation seemed like a simple raid, but under Modu's guise of a disorderly plunderer lay a cautious strategist. He was careful not to fall into a trap as he advanced deep into China. The most critical point in China's northern defense was the Mai fortress. Modu besieged the fortress, defended by Emperor's relative Han Xin. When hope for reinforcements faded, Han Xin surrendered and joined Modu's service. Modu had achieved his goal and incited Emperor Liu Bang, Gozu. Emperor Liu Bang, determined to defeat the Han threat, assembled a massive army and moved northward. Modu withdrew his forces into the mountains, while also attacking on the sides, plundering everything belonging to the Chinese. He created an impression of a disorganized plunderer, making the emperor believe that the Huns were escaping. In reality, Modu's true purpose was to intimidate in all directions. With the spoils obtained, he would secure the loyalty of other tribal leaders in the coalition, frighten them with his strength, and showcase their power to the Chinese, who were mobilizing in the north. And the brave emperor, Liu Bang, Gozu, decided to respond to Modu's move. The Chinese army was divided. The emperor, leading a small but swift unit, pursued the Huns. Modu, who appeared to be retreating, suddenly stopped and attacked the Chinese, taking them by surprise. The Chinese were bewildered by this unexpected move. They encountered the Huns in front of the Beiding fortress and suffered a severe defeat. The Battle of Beiding was the first example of the feigned withdrawal tactic that would be used by nomads throughout history. The emperor retreated to the castle in panic. He hoped to regroup his forces and evaluate the situation. However, the Huns did not miss the opportunity and surrounded the castle. Modu divided his army into 4 tumens and blocked all exits of the castle. The exact numbers of the armies are uncertain. The total number of the Chinese army was over 300,000. But the number of the vanguard trapped with the emperor is unknown. The Hun army's number was estimated to be between 20,000 and 40,000. The siege lasted for 7 days. The emperor was cornered and was willing to accept all the terms for peace. Even if he escaped from there, he knew he could not continue the war as he had witnessed the enemy's tactics and maneuverability firsthand. The emperor proposed peace to the Huns. According to Chinese historians, Modu Chanyu was approached through his wife, the sister, and was appeased with gifts. And under the influence of his wife, the Khan agreed to peace. However, considering Modu's genius, there may be another explanation. Modu had instilled fear in the hearts of the Chinese, but he was aware of the limitations of his own power. He could not prolong the siege, and if he encountered the main part of the Chinese army coming from behind, he could be caught between 2 fires, endangering himself. Moreover, the peace proposal was quite reasonable, and Modu was a realistic leader who wouldn't attempt to invade China with just a handful of cavalry. Consequently, he accepted the terms offered by the Chinese and, perhaps to preserve the show of strength, appeared to agree to peace at his wife's request. Modu applied the psychological warfare tactic to the fullest. After the treaty, he allowed the emperor to leave the castle but positioned his soldiers on both sides of the path the Chinese would take and aimed their arrows at the emperor. Liu Bang would never forget this fear, and he would yield to all of Modu's threats as he experienced firsthand the tactics and maneuverability of Modu throughout his life. Modu continued to periodically raid China and refresh the fear he left in the hearts of the enemy. However, the Chinese complied with the treaty as long as Modu was alive. Accordingly, they paid an annual tax to the Huns under the guise of a gift, left the trade and defense zone in the north to the Huns, and offered a princess to the Modu Chanyu as a gift. Moda's legacy to the Turks, the state, and the military organization system brought significant successes to the Turks in their history. With this video, we examined the emergence of the Turks on the stage of history and their first states. Don't forget to like our video and follow our channel for more historical content.